What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Sounds Heavy podcast. I'm your host, Darrell. With me, I've got Trey.
I'm Nancy Pelosi.
Oh, that's
Yes.
not who you are, Trey. It is Trey. All right. So tonight we are blessed and honored, and all of the flattering things we can say. We got a friend of ours coming on from one of the bands that when we talk about all the bands we ever played with, this is always one of the first ones we mention. Great dude, great band. Super stoked to have him on. It was very last minute, and I'm super appreciative of it. But tonight we get to hang out, conversate, interview, and talk with Daniel Graves from Ark of the Covenant. What's up, brother?
Not too much, man. Good to hear from you.
Man, I tell you what. So I just kind of give a little backstory on how we kind of got to this conversation. You and I have been friends on Facebook for years. I actually don't even, I know we played shows together in like 2012-ish. But
yeah, 2012. Yeah, that sounds about right. 2011, maybe even.
Yeah, and so like we've been friends on Facebook, and I'll like some of your posts here and there, and but we really haven't talked in a while. We haven't. I don't know that since we've been friends on Facebook, we've ever actually just gotten any kind of real conversation. I'm a bit of a lurker.
The last time I talked to you was, I want to say it was, about 2012. 2012 or 2013. It was the tour we were on with Hope for the Dying.
Yes.
And then I think I Had to Serve Hell played that show as well.
That sounds about right. I
think
remember.
That sounds about right. Because a memory came up like not too long ago, so that's kind of like ironic because I kind of have it fresh in my mind.
That's awesome. I remember, and I don't know if this was the last show we played together or the first show we played together, but I remember you guys coming through South Carolina, playing at New Brooklyn Tavern.
Mm-hmm.
And this was one of our last shows as a band, and you guys pulled one of the bar top tables from over in the dining / pool area.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, man.
And you guys sat at front and center of the stage. So several of us took turns like kind of stepping out and, chancing it on the table a little bit. I don't think I ever like got fully brave and stood on the table, but I did put my foot on it.
Oh, man, that was a good time. Yeah, that was, oh, man. I'm trying to remember what tour that was, but that was a tour with Dorian's Decay and, man, who was the other band? From the Eyes of Servants.
There you go. See, that sounds familiar. Yeah. From the Eyes of Servants does sound familiar.
Yeah. Those guys were great.
Bro, you have such a good memory.
Really
like,
great guys.
I can't. I don't even remember what you're talking about.
Oh, man. So that bar show was great. I just remember there was barely anybody there. It was like a double set. So it was like a heavy early show. And then there was this great indie pop band that played later. I remember them playing like Paula Abdul covers. And I was just like, what is happening? It was really good, though. It was really good. But yeah, no, that whole thing was just funny because that was trying to recall. One of my members remembers going to a show, I forget, I think it was a Maylene show back in the day, and then they just brought out a table one time and started playing cards while another band was playing a set, so we just kind of were like, well, there's not a whole lot of people here, we just kind of want to have a fun time with everybody that is here and just have fun with our friends, so we were just like, yeah, let's just, in the middle of their set, we'll go up there, pretend to play cards for a little bit, and then we'll, have some fun and just mosh across the stage. I don't know.
So cool, man. That's so cool. Awesome. So last night, I was up really late, and I've had some trouble sleeping the past few nights, and I can't tell if it's something with me or of this newfound cringe addiction to the show Survivor.
Oh no.
I've been watching old episodes of Survivor, but watching the seasons in reverse order. And man, I was like, watching it late last night. And then I had just fallen asleep right before you had posted online that you were having trouble sleeping. I was like, hey, anybody want to chat? So I got up this morning to get my kids ready for school. And I was like, oh God, what a missed opportunity. I could have fired up the mic and we could have had a chat last night. And then it clicked. I was like, dude, you're doing a music slash interview podcast and you didn't reach out to this freaking Ark of the Covenant first? Like, what is wrong with you?
It's
So I
all good,
messaged
man.
you and I was like, bro, if you anytime you got, and then it was worked out. Here we are, I'm saying not even 24 hours later, we're
Yeah,
talking. So,
exactly.
so how have you been, man?
Uh, I mean, life is life, man. COVID times are a little odd, and by a little bit, I mean really odd.
Yes, 100%.
But, I don't know. I've been trying to rediscover music for myself because that was a big obviously, a huge part of my life at that time, touring and just writing, and that was a huge part of my life from when I was, like, gosh, a kid, probably, like, 9, 10 years old when I first started playing, my first instrument. I first started playing drums. And, it was a big passion in my life after I got married, and, uh, we were all in Connecticut, and then I ended up moving to Nashville for on and off a couple times for a few years, and after I moved there for the first time, we had plans on trying to get stuff going again in momentum and trying to get some new music out there, but man, just I don't know, complications, life happened, our drummer Mike, he started tour managing and doing, he was doing merch and tour managing for, Within the Ruins for a while, for a stint. And, then Alex, our vocalist, he was just working, and he eventually came down to Nashville, so we got to hang a good bit for a while. And, we had a rotation of guitar players. You probably remember our old guitar player, Jake, the dude that always had the bald head.
Yep, I do.
But, he's a great dude. He's married with a kid now. He's doing great. Mike's still in Connecticut. He's just working. Alex is still in Nashville. Our guitarist Brad, who was on our second record, he's just in Rhode Island. He does production stuff. He's doing great. And uh, yeah, we had a few other rotating members, just touring members and stuff like that. But everybody's doing good. But yeah, as far as just recently, yeah, life's just been just trying to rediscover, where I want to get to in life and everything. But the thing that always came back full circle for me was music. So whether it's producing some stuff, putting out my own music, or trying to, I like working on guitars too. I might go that route. Not who knows, but it's just been a really confusing time. But it's really awesome to do this. For me personally, I haven't talked. The last time I did an interview or any type of thing was been many many years. So forgive me if I stumble a little bit.
Nah, dude,
I'm
you're in
usually
good
I'm
you're in
I'm
good company.
I don't talk on the phone very much. I don't talk to people very much except for like close family and friends. So uh this is putting myself out there like this is definitely a little different, but we'll get there.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Trey and I are definitely glad to have you, and I'm sure the Sounds Heavy audience will definitely be glad to have you on. This is a big deal to me, so I'm stoked. So, with that being said, we're going to jump right into things.
Sure.
So, I believe you guys kind of started around 2009, right? So,
That
like,
is correct.
how does Ark of the Covenant become a band? How did you guys start?
Okay, so little backstory. Um, so I was in a band, local band in Connecticut previously. We were called View Through Blind Eyes. You can find stuff of us on YouTube still, live shows, but I don't know how we had shows because we had tons of people show up. I guess it was, that great time when word of mouth was still a thing and,
Yeah,
people just came out to shows to actually go out to shows. It wasn't a popularity contest. Everybody just wanted to go out and have a good time. But but yeah, so that band ended up breaking up. We played our last show at Toad's Place in New Haven. Uh, Geez, it was probably August of 2009, and at that point, I had a decision to make. It was more so, am I going to continue doing this, or do I need to figure out something else to do? Because at that point, I had just been Oh, there was a point when I was in high school where I'd be in 2 or 3 bands at a time, and I would just hop around and, like, I was just grinding years. and just playing the local circuit, playing Massachusetts, tri-state area, stuff like that. But after all that was said and done, I was at a point where I was almost gonna just not do music anymore, and I was gonna move on and just try to figure out other options for myself and just, keep it as a hobby or whatever. But then, I got approached by the guys in Arc. At that point, they had only played 1 show, and, when they asked me to join, it was probably, I think, September, like a month after, my band had played our last show, so I was like, "You know what? Why not?" So I just went for it. I was doing vocals in, the band I was in previously, so when they were like, "Oh, we just need a bass player," I was like, "Well, whatever. I'll have fun."
Bass is fun.
Bass is fun. So, yeah, that's just kind of how that came about. They were also, I should say Mike, Alex, and Brad, who was on the Self Harvest record, was also in the band before they changed their name. They used to be called Death is Defeated, and they were around, probably 2 or so years before Arc, but yeah, that I don't think anybody will understate the fact that that band was terrible. So, if I'm gonna be completely honest, I was hesitant at first, but then I got to know the guys a little bit. I had played a show with their old band back in the day, so I knew all the dudes, and I was just like, "You know what? I'm down to have some fun, so why not? We'll see how it goes." And, yeah, it just kind of went on from there. We just played local shows a lot. We played New York, Massachusetts, wherever. And eventually, the guys in Wrench in the Works, we were really, really good friends with. And we ended up doing a little weekend outing with them at one point. And yeah, that's how we first got into contact with Jason, was through Andy, the drummer of Wrench in the Works.
Okay, cool, cool,
Yeah, and
cool.
that's how we got in contact with Jason and Facedown, and, yeah, we recorded a little 3-song demo, sent it their way, and, the rest is history, I guess, in a sense.
I've definitely always wondered like how um you go about getting in contact with record labels and things like that because for us we didn't have access to like a whole bunch of people that played on big record labels, and then when we
Mhm.
would play big shows with like solid state bands and face down bands and stuff like that, like no one ever seemed to want to give any contacts out, or you know what I'm saying, anything like that. So it
Man,
was,
you know what the thing is? It's, I don't know, it's all about, I think most industries, especially with any art, is really about who you know, and, we were just really fortunate to be able to take that opportunity, and we were just like, "Yeah, we really wanna do this," and, which was really awesome because we were just like a tiny little band. I had never really, had the opportunity to go out and, have a record and have a record deal or anything like that. Obviously, that was always the dream, but, uh, it's crazy to think about how much the industry has changed in that amount of time. In like a matter of 10, 12 years. Like when we were going, it was MySpace was still around and that was still prevalent. And Lord, do I miss MySpace.
Same here.
Man, talk about a great way to get yourself out there. And then Facebook had to go along and just
Dude, we had our MySpace, we had like 2 songs on there, and, like, so recently I went back and I was trying to find some old photos because, to our detriment, Ninjaloot has never been good with, like, social media stuff. Like, none of us are really big social media savvy people. We didn't take a ton of pictures, videos, things like that, and the stuff that's out there is really bad. So it's like, hey, if I go to pimp the band and I'm just kinda like, just don't look at YouTube or any of that stuff. But, so I went on our MySpace and I, like, saw one of our singles that released when we were at our hottest. It just had, like, 18,000 plays on our little MySpace player. I was like, "Oh, God, I miss those days."
man, I really wish I could recall some of the plays we got. I mean, before we did okay, so here's a little timeline. All right, actually, we're kind of veering off a little bit because you had asked me about how Facedown works and how
Hey, man, let's
all
just
that
go.
stuff works.
Let's just talk.
You know,
We'll get there eventually.
yeah, yeah. But anyway, don't mind me, scramble brain. but I can remember. Think you guys know our song "Fakes."
Yes, sir. I listened to it today.
um, so I think I want to say we had done the Separation EP. We originally released it independently. We literally just did those. You guys remember the old download cards? They were super cheap.
I
We
do.
just did the Yeah, we originally just put it out on that, and then once we got signed to Facedown, obviously they ended up putting it out. Um, we did that for a bit, and then in between we had wrote a couple songs. Both songs are on actually on Self Harvest. We did Fakes, and we actually did a demo for the song we did a music video for called Parasite. And what's crazy is that song, the demo, I wish I need to get in contact with one of the guys and see if I can get a copy of it, because it sounds completely different from how the record turned out.
Good or bad?
um Not bad, considering I haven't listened to it in over a decade probably. But or Is that long? Yeah, it's been at least like 8 years since I've heard that version of the song, but, like, what it was and what it turned into was 2 completely different things. But then again, that was the process when, we had actually gone into, the studio to start recording, Self Harvest. We had gone in It was in 2012, and what happened was we were recording and we were guitar tracking. I think we were like maybe a week or so in our maybe 2 weeks, but either way, our guitarist actually ended up quitting in the middle of tracking.
Oof.
So thankfully our producer Greg Thomas, he is a hardcore legend. He has been in bands such as Shai Hulud and Misery Signals.
Okay.
He is one of my best friends. He officiated my wife and I's wedding. He's great dude. Great dude. He literally got officiated just to do our wedding. It was My mind was blown.
That's awesome.
Like he's such a nice dude. And so what it ended up happening, he was just like, "Well, I guess I'm your guitar player for the record now." And he really, really saved us. But at the same time, we kind of looked at the music we were doing, and he gave us his input through his lens of what he thought, what some of the better ideas were now that he had a creative hand in it. And we were like, well, yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the songs that we came in there with evolved into something completely different, except for Fakes, pretty much.
Okay. Okay. Now, if I'm being honest with you, the EP
Mhm.
is just still some of the best stuff that came out of that era. Not just you guys,
Yeah.
but like Strike First, Face Down, Blood and Ink, like that early 2010s, you know what I'm saying? Like that EP is so freaking good.
Thank you, man. Honestly, that the Separation EP, it's actually really funny. I did recording vlogs back then of that whole process, and they didn't really pick up any traction. But if anyone's interested, you go on to the Arc YouTube page. We still have recording videos from the Separation EP. So you want to see us being really stupid? Check it out.
Oh, will do 100%, 100%. So, one of the questions that we ask every band we talk to, and
Sure.
part of this is self-serving, part of it is a little bit of shame involved, but how did you guys settle on your name?
You know, I couldn't even tell you because they had the name before I even joined the band. And to be honest with you, it just kind I've been told the story before, but it's been so many years, and it just, once we were playing and touring and doing all that stuff, it didn't really, believe it or not, we never got asked that question too much. You're the first person I think out of any interview we ever did where the that question came up, which is odd.
Well, I mean, for the time frame and the style of band you guys were, and that hardcore Christian metal movement, you know, it made sense, and it was like, oh, of course you're the Ark of the Covenant, you know?
Like I said, you know, the way I look at it, like some people, you know, one of my favorite trolls that we would get from haters was like the Indiana Jones jokes, and I was
Yeah.
never disappointed. I was never disappointed because I would just laugh. Okay, here's a funny story.
Okay.
So when we put out the demo version of Fakes on our YouTube, uh, when we first released it, there was like a tiny rumor that was started, and I don't know where it came from, you know, but you guys also know how the internet works, and
Oh yeah.
how quickly rumors start, and then the comment section just goes just insane. Somebody had started a rumor that we wrote the song Fakes about Saul from the Crimson Armada at the time, because there was like that huge controversy about everybody questioning if they were a Christian band or not and all of this stuff. And we have never, I met Saul once when he was doing merch for another band. And he was the nicest dude, and I just thought it was so weird how people just fabricated that out of nothing.
Dude, 100% we have a similar story.
Oh yeah?
So locally, you know, the two bands during, you know, I don't know, 2010-ish, I'd say, the two main draw, you know, in the Columbia metal scene and hardcore scene was Ninjaloot, us, and Your Chance. I mean, Your Chance to Die. We Sell at Dawn, and those are really good friends of ours. Like we got those guys, you know, their first couple shows and things like that. They used to come to our shows, and they're like, "Man, we're gonna start a metal band. We're gonna do all this stuff, blah blah." I was like, "Cool, man. Get you 4 or 5 songs, and we'll have you guys open up for us on some of our little DIY shows." Right? They gained, you know, local success, popularity, excuse me, and like they were, you know, they're hot. They had a couple years there, man. They were hot. And they were in talks with Rise Records and all these other places, right? Like
Sure.
Rise was grooming them hardcore for a little while. They actually,
I mean, that's a great label to have doing that for you, especially where they're at now.
well, they blew their chances, you know what I'm saying, by changing their name and changing their style, going a little more deathcore. But, you know,
Yes, yes, the deathcore movement.
yeah,
That
they jumped on that. But there was a point in time where they were like smoking hot in the scene, right? At least locally here. Now, obviously, South Carolina's version of smoking hot in the scene versus anywhere else in the United States is a little bit different. But you know, for our you know, what I'm saying, understanding of things and what was relative to us, they were hot. So we had kind of went away for a couple months, and we for the 6.5, almost 7 years we were together. We averaged, you know, what I'm saying, 50, 60 shows a year, you know, somewhere in that vicinity.
Mhm.
And we had kind of went away for a couple months, and we had like a fill-in vocalist for a little while. He had kind of come and gone. Our main guy we had for years, he was, you know, him and his wife were kind of moving on and, you know, doing family stuff. And that's when Trey, who used to play drums for us, became our vocalist. So when Trey became our vocalist, we came out on stage and had made some big announcement how we were going to kind of like, how we were going to really double down on just like our faith and who we are and blah, blah, blah. And all these other bands were falling off the bandwagon, not being quote, quote, Christian bands anymore. And then, like, in the scene, things got like crazy. All these rumors got started, and people thought we were calling out our friends. You know, we sell Dawn, all this stuff. And it turned this whole big mess. You know what I'm saying? It was like completely fabricated from people outside of us. And we were completely, I guess, blindsided by it. We make a couple comments just kind of about how the mainstream Christian music stuff's changing and how we're not going to change, you know? And yet here we are coming out with a new vocalist. We've kind of changed our sound a little bit, started playing in a heavier songs, a little bit less technical, you know, dropping our tuning, things like that. And it was crazy, man. It was like here we are, we come out, we think we got this new sound. Here we're gonna repackage things. It's gonna be awesome. And then like this wild rumor just kind of got things, you know, crazy. I don't know. You know how people are. But well, since I had been the only guitar player for a while, I've been sitting on this idea that I've had since day one with Ninjaloot was to play 7-string guitars and drop A. And that's what I wanted. I was just like, I was a big Korn fan, you know what I'm saying? I was a big new metal
Oh,
head. I was like,
dude, same,
dude, I
same.
was like, 7-string guitars is literally the only way to play heavy music. But whatever, I did it for years. And so, as a matter of fact, when I actually met you guys and you guys were playing 6-string baritones, I was like, dang, that's really heavy.
Yeah, I actually still have that, guitar. That guitar was actually mine that I let, our guitarist Jake, borrow. Yeah, we put a Warmoth, baritone conversion neck on a US Fat Strat, and so
Yes.
it just
It was nasty too.
it definitely turned heads because it was unexpected for a lot of people. I was like, "Man, Seymour Duncan pickups, they know what they're doing, man."
Bro, and you see, like, here we are 8 years later, and I remember seeing that. I was like, "Whoa, that really
That
did
made an
make an impression."
impression on a lot of people because, like, but that was kind of like an inside joke with, like, me and our guitarist Jake a little bit, in a way, because it was just, like, so unconventional. Everybody else was using Ibanez or Schecter or, you had people playing Agiles back when those first came
Yep,
out because
that
they were
was
cheap,
coming
cheap,
on the
cheap,
scene.
and, everybody was, doing that whole thing, and I was like, "Well, I got a really nice American Fender with a really hot pickup in it, and I think it'll work just fine for what we're doing." And we were originally playing in, like you were saying, we originally were playing in drop A, like on the EP, and then when Self Harvest came around, we started playing in drop G.
Mm, yeah. So,
So yeah.
the first show we played together was in, like, that small church way out in the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
So, I think actually that was when I had made my announcement I was stepping away from the band,
I
which was
remember that. Yeah.
which is unfortunate because that was such a good show that night. That was such a good experience.
Oh yeah, that
But,
was a really fun show.
we had, I was playing a 7-string Ibanez Prestige in drop A, and I had my Mesa, my PV Mesa
Hmm.
rig or whatever. And I was like, I felt really good about, like, the tone and how heavy that was.
Mm.
You guys got up there with that freaking Fender, and I'm like, "God almighty, like, that thing is gnarly."
Hey man, we were loud and rude, and we just liked having a good time.
It was
That's
really good, it was really
that's
good.
that's the
I just
long and
remember
short
being
of
weirded out because that was the first time I'd ever seen a hardcore band use a Stratocaster.
hey man, it's all about the tone. The guitar, like the pickup, like there's so many different factors that you got like that can go into a tone, but like I don't know. I that guitar is a US Fender Fat Strat, so it's got the pearly gate humbucker in the bridge, and then you have the single coils are pearly gates, so they're great, great,
Oof.
great, or excuse me, Texas Specials rather, and great for cleans and stuff like that. But like we ever used cleans barely, but
Yeah.
either way, that pickup, it was super versatile when I was, like, growing up, when I first got that guitar. I was mainly into, like, Blink-182 and a lot of pop punk stuff, like, all the Drive-Thru record stuff. That was, like, my wheelhouse for a while. I also played drums in a pop punk band for many years, so that was my wheelhouse for a long, long time, but then I started getting into some of the victories, the earlier victory stuff, like the early 2000 stuff. So I got into like Thursday. Then I discovered like Atreyu and, you know, back when they had all those samplers that they would give you and make your day.
Dude, Trey used to come through here on a semi-regular basis. I used to watch them back with a bullet what was it, a butterfly Suicide Notes and Butterfly Kisses?
That I actually saw them on that same record. The show I saw them at was amazing. It was Memento, uh, them, and CKY.
I don't see the bar we used to go to watch bands back then. I saw so many because I was there every freaking weekend. It feels like I don't
Yeah, but
remember who.
that's how it used to be though. You'd have your local venues and it was just like, "All right, well, there's shows every weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so let's go hang out."
Dude, 100%. And like, I don't remember who Atreyu played with, but I knew like shortly after, like within a few days or weeks, Roadrunner had a tour come through, and it was Hotwire, 36 Crazy Fist, Chimera, and God Forbid.
Oh my gosh,
Dude,
do I miss
yes.
Chimera and God forbid.
It was so good,
Doc
man.
Coyle is such a good guitar player. That dude deserves so much more credit. But then again, he's in Bad Wolves now. But we'll see how that goes now that Tommy's out of the band.
Well, I tell you what, man, Chimera killed, dude. They
I
were on
miss those
the
guys, man. They were so heavy and so weird, and I loved every second of it.
oh yeah. They
That
they
first
were
record.
This Present Darkness, I believe is what they were touring. It
Yeah.
was before the Power Trip record.
Oh, okay, okay.
So, oh, it was good. It was good. But Trey, man, I know you've been a little quiet, man. I've been hogging the conversation. You got any you want to take the next question for our guest?
I got to think of one, man, because I got sucked into the story there. I
It happens, man.
No,
don't know.
we'll see.
I got so sucked into listening, and like I had my microphone on mute because I got my entire family in the room with me, and
Fair enough.
I didn't know how
Hi,
that would
family.
sound or whatever. But yeah. Well, they can't hear you, but it
For
is what
sure.
it is.
I
No,
greeted them either way
dude,
because I'm polite.
what you were talking about gear earlier, and like that Strat definitely sounded awesome. But one of my favorite things about y'all's show was how your bass sounded. I thought that was
Yeah,
the
man.
nastiest, just like most crunchy, low
Pig snort.
end. Oh man, it's such a good bass. Like to this day, when I want to hear the kind of bass that I like, I put on that EP and I listen to it
Honestly,
because
man,
it's
like,
so good.
oh man, thank you so much, man. But as far as like my bass tone and what I was using, so I think when I came through there that time, um, I was originally using I think it was a Sound Gear by Ibanez 5 string I was originally using, but what I ended up doing, on that first tour, I think back then I was using oh man, what did I have? I actually had a SVT-4 Pro at the time. I just got the rig, not long before we went on tour. I got a SVT-4 Pro, I had a GK 810, and I was just using, I think that's all I had back then, before I upgraded to using a Sans amp, but, like, I was able to get some good tone, out of it, luckily, but, like, actually, did I have the Sans amp then? I had to have, because if you're talking about that loud bass tone, yeah, I definitely had to have been using the Sans amp then.
Well, see, I
It's
think
been
I may
so
have
long
asked you about
ago.
it that night, and I think it was the Sans amp because
Okay,
I
then
remember thinking like,
that
I
that
want to
makes
get
way
one.
more sense. It's just trying to piece all this stuff together after all these years. Little blurry here and there, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, that Sans amp, man, because I used the pedal version of it in the studio, and when I found out they made a rack, the RBI, I was just like, oh, I have to get this thing.
Heck
I
yeah.
have to get it, and you know, uh, that is probably just like my favorite piece of rack gear ever. I would absolutely recommend for a live setting to definitely use the RBI. You can get whatever bass tone you're looking for out of that thing. It's just so versatile. I still use it for this day, and like I love that thing. I best investment I ever put any money into was that thing.
Well, and not to shift topics too terribly hard, but one thing I was thinking about, uh, do you have like a favorite show that you guys played, just in general, like out of all the time that y'all spent together and touring and all that kind of stuff? Like, is there a single show or a single moment that stands out as like, man, that's why I love playing music. This is
Okay,
why
this is
I do this.
okay, this is a great question. Okay, so first off, I just want to say we played a lot of fun shows, and I think that's just a testament to like what we did. We were still at that point, where we would play impromptu house shows when we were on tour because a date would drop, and we would just get out there and try to see if anybody was willing to throw on a house show, and like so I'm going to talk about two memories in particular. So we played this show in Lubbock, Texas. We were it was actually the day I think it was Buddy Holly's birthday when we were playing in Lubbock, Texas, which is just even more ironic. But this dude had put up put together a house show, and I think it was within 24 hours. It was super, super short notice. And so we show up, and there's a few people there. There was just another local band playing. And man, I can still find a clip of it on YouTube. This house was packed. It was a very tiny house. There was probably only 20 or 30 people there max, but it was just insane playing in a living room. I thought everybody was moshing and jumping so much on top of us doing our thing that the floor was wobbling. Like it was just uh, there's just something about house shows that I absolutely loved. I guess it was just the nostalgia of like all the house shows I played in high school, and just like, because that's what you did. You played house shows, or if you were lucky enough to get on a local show or something like that. But I don't know. There's something about house shows and hardcore that just
Heck yeah.
makes me super happy.
Heck
And
yeah.
we even played it was super funny because we actually played a Bury Your Dead cover that night, which we rarely did, but we would do it once in a while.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And then, but that was probably like one of my favorite, like super intimate shows. But like, you know, obviously a lot of the Connecticut shows we played, the home shows and stuff like that, were a lot of fun. There was a lot of good shows in New York, but one of the last shows that we actually played, we got on Creation Festival, and this was in this was definitely in 2013. And we did not expect for what happened to happen. So the lineup was supposed to be um Wolves at the Gate, um us, Gideon, My Children, My Bride, and then Sleeping Giant closing out the night.
Oof.
And no lie, some error happened with the lineup. MCMB dropped, but for whatever reason, we got put right behind Sleeping Giant after Wolves at the Gate and Gideon, which I don't know how this happened, but the people organizing were just like, well, it is what it is, so put on a good show.
Oh, dude,
If
that's awesome.
we were just like, what? And yeah, man, I can't even express to you how crazy of an experience that was. It was definitely the biggest stage we had ever played, and probably I would definitely say the biggest crowd we ever played. There's a few thousand kids there, and it was just it's just one of those moments that I feel like every person that goes to start a band and they go want to play shows and go on tour, and that was probably the first time. And because I'm a pretty humble person when it comes to being a musician. I'm just a dude that likes playing music, and I try to keep a level head about that stuff. But that was like huge rock star moment, and I was just like, what is happening? And one of the cool things was they were cuz the organizers told us, like security told us, like, hey, try not to call out moshing too much, and because they're gonna do it anyway, but like try not to egg it on too much or anything. We're like, okay, whatever. And they were like, also don't like jump off the stage into the crowd or anything like that. We don't want anybody getting hurt. And we were like, yeah, that's fine. And then we played our first song. The whole, and this is Creations Outdoor. So the whole crowd explodes. It's just insane. I have not seen that many people go that crazy to our music ever in my life. And I don't know, it just brought a lot of joy, and I think that was our tightest set we had ever played, and we just put every ounce of everything into that set. And, like, there was a point where security, because people started crowd surfing and everything, and, there was a little bit of that, during Gideon, but, like, we hadn't experienced anything that y I don't know. It's kind of hard to put into words because it was just so unexpected.
That's awesome.
But, there's a video on our YouTube of Alex jumping foot first into the crowd, and he just disappears, and then he just comes up from a sea of people back out onto the stage. And like, yeah, at that point, like, but yeah, after at that point, like, basically after we played our first song, security was like, "Do what you want," because
That's
everybody
awesome.
was into it, even the security people were into it. So it was just like, we just had full reign to do what we wanted, and we didn't disappoint as far as I know. At least the
That
merch
dude,
sales reflected that.
that would have been an awesome show. That
Heck
would have been
yeah.
an
Yeah,
awesome
man,
show to
and the
play at.
thing
Like
that's
I'm happy that you have such a good memory of it though, because like I know like the biggest show that we ever played is Ninjaloot. Uh, we played with Flyleaf at a local is a big park downtown Columbia or whatever. Um,
oh,
but
wow,
I
that's
think
awesome.
well throughout the day I think there were like I don't know like 6,000 attendees at any given point or whatever. And so like I just remember, we had a huge crowd that day when we played, and we were definitely like as far as the other bands that played, we were probably the most energetic band that was on the stage that day. But
Yeah.
like, playing in front of that many people, I think, dude, I got so nervous and so like kind of wound up that I don't really have a good memory of that set. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember looking out and seeing the people there, and I remember watching our vocalist like kind of stand up on the barricades and try to let people hold him up or whatever while he was screaming. But like I don't know, dude. I had so much adrenaline going that it's hard for me to recall any given point of that day.
Yeah, man. I definitely have experienced that a few times. Sometimes your nerves can make you just completely forget an experience, but I mean, like, I don't know. There's maybe it's just me. I just recall memories very well. I even have memories from just I don't know. I've just been a person that likes reflecting on stuff, and remembering is just like a big part for me, especially dementia runs in my family a little bit. So like, I very fortunate that like I do have the memory I have now. And, doing stuff like this is even great because I even have it on record.
That's the purpose of this show right here, to get
Exactly,
all this stuff,
exactly.
get all this
But
stuff down. So
yeah, man, it's crazy. I recall a lot of different things, and like there's definitely some stories that are probably not appropriate for this particular podcast, but let's just say, even though we were a Christian band, we got in some weird situations, and I will just leave it at that. Just stay. s- I'm sorry, anybody from Memphis, but who you guys party way too hard. I'm sorry. You guys party way too hard, especially when four dudes were looking, or five or six dudes were looking for a place to crash. And oh, yeah, we're gonna have a couple people over. Oh, you're having a giant house party. This is not what I wanted.
no sleeping this night.
Especially when we had to drive to Oklahoma City the next day.
Oof.
Yeah,
So
that was a hike.
we talked about, what I'm saying, kind of like how you got in the band, you guys hooking up with Facedown, and then hitting the road. How was it working with Facedown? We've known a lot of people that, on different record labels and stuff, but a lot of times the people that talk to us, or at least have talked to us, it's not always been super positive. How was it working with Facedown?
So here's the thing you gotta understand about Facedown. Like, so first off, our deal was I would have to look at it because it's been a long time since I looked over that. I have it somewhere in my box of memories somewhere, um but yeah, when we initially signed and we did the Strike First deal, they gave us like wasn't a lot. I'll be honest, it wasn't a lot, but we worked with what we got. You do what you got to do. So nothing against them. They were giving us a chance, and we weren't gonna mess it up.
Heck yeah.
And like the thing is though, man, the main thing you gotta understand when no matter what band you are or what type of genre you are, when it comes to a label, you have to really put the work in and take responsibility for the work you put into it and what you get out of it. And that's one of the biggest lessons I learned just from being on a record label in general. Cause like, You know, it's really odd when, man, this is I'm trying to word this correctly. I'm trying to be careful here. uh, so the long and short of it, we got enough to make the record and we got it like with separation obviously that didn't take long for us to record. The songs were simple and we had those songs for a long time and so that was a breeze doing that record and that was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. But after that, like all the people that work at Facedown, like, you got Jason, his wife Virginia, you got Dave Quiggle, Shannon, uh, all those guys are amazing people. And to be honest, they're some of the nicest people you'll ever meet. And they're super down to earth and they were great to work with, like communication wise. But the infamous but. Um, you know, kind of like how I was talking about, it's kind of a band's responsibility in this instance when you're working with a DIY label like that. You really have to push yourselves because they can do their part, but you also have to do a part and put the work in on your own. And this was kind of like the transition from, how the music industry was and what it was transitioning into. And we were kind of in the middle of that because you had like War of Ages was huge at one point, and then you had For Today, you had your Impending Doom. They had a lot of bands that were that were getting on huge tours and stuff like that, but those bands worked their tails off to do that, and they worked really hard to get there, and it paid off for them. So, it's kind of a mix of getting yourself out there, taking the right opportunities and, you know, hoping it works out because a lot of the time it's just, luck of the draw. It really is, especially when it comes to working with a label.
Heck yeah, dude. No, it's funny because you talking about For Today when they first kind of got going. Our drummer booked them for like a little what he used to call Hood Fest,
Sick.
and he brought them in. I think they slept. Trey, am I wrong? Did they sleep on Luis's floor? They spent the
Yeah,
night
they
with him
did.
a couple times, didn't they? I think they stayed with him
Yeah,
when they
yeah.
came through town on tours and stuff.
Yeah, no, he had like their phone numbers and stuff.
Yeah, they were
So
they got pretty close for a while there, and I know that anytime they came through town, they'd all get together or whatever. But so
That's really awesome.
we were always in this weird position where we were on the outside of everything, like we booked shows with you guys and did stuff with you guys. We've played with For Today. Our drummer has booked them and put them in through stuff. We came as Romans right before they blew up.
Yeah, those guys are great. Dave, I've talked to Dave, their vocalist, a couple times. Dave's a really nice dude. They're some of the nicest people.
Heck yeah, man. And so, and there's tons and tons of bands, and I told this story in the very beginning as soon as we launched the podcast. I won't tell it again, but like hanging out with Josh Scoggins from the Chariot, on side stage and stuff like that. We got to hang out with Brooke Reeves from Impending Doom. We play with them, you know what I'm saying? So it's like we were all over all these guys and played with them and did all this stuff. And it just, I don't know, we never, like you said, some of it's luck, we just never got that ear, that attention, maybe we could we just didn't hit it on the right day. But when it comes to working hard, that era, you know what I'm saying? When you guys were out touring and playing and us DIY bands and all this stuff, man, like the hardcore scene in general, the metalcore scene,
Hmm.
everyone was just grinding and giving it, everything they got, man. It was such an exciting time.
It really was. It really was. It's kind of weird to look how everything is now. Everything's single based and like you're better off putting out an EP than a full length nowadays.
It's crazy. Look, dude, we put out 5 singles last year. You
Oh
know?
wow.
Yeah. I mean, like we're working on the full length now. And as a matter of fact, we've got some studio time planned for tomorrow night, at the time of this recording. So, it's gonna be exciting, when everything comes out and everything. But it's like For us now, I mean, we're not looking to do anything on the road or anything crazy. For us, our focus now is
No, man,
talking with bands and doing stuff.
man, I mean, especially with how things are now, everything's up in the air with the industry. Who
Yeah,
knows when everything's gonna come back? And I
and what that's gonna look
obviously
like.
being in a band and touring and stuff like that, I have a lot of really good friends that that was their livelihood. Not even just musicians, but you had their crew and just like their whole teams working together. It's
Yeah.
just I really feel for that industry right now. Apart from everything else, everything's just kind of terrible industry wise, no matter what you're in. But
Well, like
man,
Luis,
yeah,
our drummer,
yeah.
he doesn't tour with a metal band anymore. He tours with a Trey. What I called him like an indie folk band before, but is they're like a Celtic rock band, I guess.
Really, Luis is playing Celtic rock. Wow. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a great drummer and he's super versatile, so I know he can do it. It's just, whatever pays the bills, and if he's having fun, that's all that matters, man.
We told him he should wear a kilt while he's playing the drums and see
Oh
if
my
that gets any
gosh,
attention.
yes.
With no undies, like just straight rock it like a real man.
Hey, man, airflow is key.
But yeah, so Luis, he tours with a band called Sear, and like we've been talking with him a lot because they play a good bit of festivals and they do a bunch of stuff. And
Wait, he's in Sear?
yeah, he's the drummer for Sear.
Man, I am so out of the loop. That's so crazy. Good for him.
Heck yeah, dude. So yeah, we're gonna be in the studio with him tomorrow night, and he's actually going to be one of our next interviews on the podcast because we're gonna talk about Ninjaloot stuff and what we're working on. But we're gonna talk about Sear because they're recording their next full length right now,
Yep.
and he played me some of their demo, some of the I guess their rough drafts. You know what I'm saying? They're oh my gosh, dude! And the dude's throwing breakdowns in indie folk rock, like Celtic folk rock, whatever you want to
Oh,
call it.
man,
It's
I can't
good,
wait to
dude.
hear that.
It's really
That
really
makes me
good.
so happy because 'cause I'm just like I'm very much about, like, thinking outside of the box type music, especially nowadays with how oversaturated most of the genres we came up playing are now.
Heck yeah, heck yeah.
But, like, because like, one of my favorite bands right now, as far as, like I mean, they're heavy, but then they can be beautiful at the same time. Like, my favorite band right now is Spirit Box. Those guys rip.
Heck yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. I've been listening to so much stuff lately. I don't know if I have like a favorite, but I've been going down this new metalcore. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of the bands I can't even pronounce their names anymore. Like people are just getting so crazy with it. But I like there's like
Man,
a
some names are really dumb, but you gotta do something when everything's been done already.
I know, right? Ninjaloot.
Nah, man. Hey, remember the epically long names of bands? I think one of actually my favorite band name, he was an engineer, this dude Chris Teddy at the studio in Silver Bullet Studios in Connecticut. His first record that he worked on was actually with Greg also, but he was an intern at the time. He's in a band called The World Is a Beautiful Place, and I'm no longer afraid to die.
Love to
I'd
see
like to
that
see those.
acronym.
Yeah, I was about to say I'd like to see that acronym.
Good luck.
So we've kind of, we've talked shows, we talked Facedown, we talked tours, we talked all that stuff.
Yeah.
Before we started recording, you had said that a lot of the Facedown, you know what I'm saying, the hardcore, the crew, the Facedown loyal, the fan,
Yeah.
they want to know the story on what happened to Ark of the Covenant. So I want to know the story of what happened to Ark of the Covenant. So if you got that story and that big juicy, saying clickbait story for us.
I think people are going to be really disappointed because it's not dramatic. It's not, everything went down in flames. Everybody hated each other. It wasn't anything like that. Simply put, life just kind of happened and other priorities just kind of came into play, especially after I got married and I moved out of state, moved to Nashville, and I was there. But then there was a couple things that, um, I'm long over, but at the time I was just kind of bummed out a little bit because they would be like going into the studio to like kind of work on some demos and stuff like that. And I didn't initially hear about it, but at the same time, I knew they were just trying to do stuff on their end. So that was just me taking it more personally than I should have at the time. I know that now. But, it was just we're still all good friends. I still talk to Alex regularly. I hit up Mike every once in a while. I'm actually going up to Connecticut this week, so I'm hoping I can catch up with Mike sometime this week, our drummer. Um,
Yeah.
but it's just it's weird how life works sometimes because we played our last show as a band in uh it was, I want to say, there was snow. So I think it was and this is in Connecticut, so it snows up until like almost April. But I think it was like February or March, something like that. And we played at the Webster Theater in Hartford, and this was like a big one-off show for us because it was going to be the last one I played before I moved, and it was, to say the least, a really awful show.
Oh, that sucks.
Kind of, I don't want to get into anybody's personal stuff, but all of us probably partook in a little bit more beer than we should have, and then played a set, and it did not go over well.
Hmm.
And we had a packed house. There was a lot of people there, a lot of people that like I grew up with and were friends with from like high school. So it was an experience to say the least. But uh, but that's kind of just what happened. We played that show, and after that, we kind of like bounced a couple demos here and there. But after that, it just kind of fizzled out and naturally dissolved, unfortunately.
So how does that work with Facedown? Were you guys locked into like a
Oh,
multi?
so I, I skipped a thing. That's what ended up happening was, our out Self Harvest, as much as I love that record, for me, it was, I wrote lyrics for a few of the songs on that record, and, those were very, very personal to me. That was stuff I was struggling with, uh and I got to put out there, and so it'll always be like my favorite thing. But um, I I believe because it took us so long to get the record out, because Facedown had started promoting it in 2012, and we after Jake had left and we were in the studio when we basically overhauled everything. It took us so long, but at the same time, that's kind of why it is my favorite record, was because we got to take our time with it, even though it probably wasn't the best like long-term decision. Obviously, because what ended up happening was we got the record out, and then, come the end of 2013, we get an email from them, and they dropped us.
Okay, so you did have like a multi-record deal.
Nope. Basically you would have the deal, and then both parties would have an option
Okay. Okay.
to do the next one. So either party could back out. That was just how it was. But also at the same time, I'm glad it was like that, because you've heard horror stories of bands like what Victory used to do, signing bands to 5 and 6
Yep.
album
Yep.
deals and just completely destroying bands because they were obligated to put out releases.
Yep. Heard
So
lots of
like it
stories
could have
about it.
all I have to say is it could have been a lot worse, and I'm thankful that it wasn't.
That's good. That's good. Cool. Well, there you go, Face Down fandom. You heard it here on the Sounds Heavy podcast. This is the exclusive. I'm going to have all of the clickbait titles. I mean, like, we're going to have breakout YouTube videos, Instagram posts. I mean, the whole nine. What really happened to Ark of the Covenant?
Not a whole lot. We're just regular dudes just living life.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Daniel, is there anything you just kind of want to like, we're getting close to the hour mark. I mean, is there anything you just kind of want to say? Anything else you want to, anything you're working on, anything you want to push or promote, or anything you got that you just kind of want to talk about in general before we get out of here?
Sure. I'm not necessarily pushing anything. Any of the music I'm working on right now, it's just personal right now. Hopefully I can get something out eventually, but right now that's just a thing for me. But I guess all I really want to say to wrap all this up is thank you guys for having me on. Darrell, I'm really glad you got in contact with me last night because one of the biggest things I'm going through right now is that where I live, uh, apart from like the initial family that I have here, I have no friends here. So I don't talk to too many people except for, some of my tour family and buddies back up north and stuff like that. So being able to sit down and actually just have a conversation and talk about this stuff is just it's just I don't know. It's a release in a way for me, and at the same time, it's just good to know that people still think of us in a way. That makes me really happy to know that people still appreciate that music, even though we were a blip on the radar. And it was some of the favorite times of my life, and I'll always have that. And I just want to thank every single person that ever came out to a show, bought merch, just let us crash at their house when they had no idea who these like four strangers were, letting us crash on your wherever.
Heck yeah.
But I can't stress enough that I'm just really thankful that I got to experience that, and it's just something that I can share and hold on to.
Well, man, I'm glad we got to share the stage with you guys. You guys are Trey and I, we're long past our prime, but man, we talk about, what I'm saying, play music and just reflecting back on the shows all the time. And I think about you guys all the time. I burnt that EP to death. I like the album too. Don't get me wrong, but man, I'm telling you,
I know it was a dramatic sound difference between the two, but it's just kind of what happened.
heck yeah, well, that's not a bad thing, man. And that's one thing I hope to cover on this show in general is that artists and musicians, like, they can put out one thing, right? And the next thing they put out, they might not want it to be the same. I know that's not what the fans want to hear, and again, using us as an example, we put out 3 EPs that were so different than each other. Different tunings, different song structures, different vocalists. I mean, we changed so much, and every EP we put out, we would have a different fan base that was like, "This is my record. This is my EP."
For
And
sure.
to this day, I still conversate with guys who they're like, "Yeah, that other stuff you did was cool, but that 2006 EP, that 2007, that's my jam." And so, for me, what I'm saying, you guys getting to, what I'm saying, see it live, be on stage with you, experience the energy, and just burn the fool out of that EP, man. I'm telling you, it was good, and I appreciate you guys. I'm glad we got to do this tonight. Uh, yeah, and this is something I'm saying a bunch on the show. Like, I'm a fan of you guys, so this is great for me as a fan to
Thank you,
have you
man.
on.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate that.
So, well, I hope
Like,
this is not the last time we get to have you come on and chat with.
oh, dude, you can. y- I have so many stories. I have so many stories. So,
Heck
like,
yeah.
definitely have me on anytime. I'd be happy to do it, and I'll definitely have a better microphone next time.
Awesome, awesome. Trey, man, is there anything you got or anything you want to say, anything you want to talk about before we get out of here?
Well, I do have one last question. We're not to spend a whole lot of time on it or whatever, but like
Sure.
one thing I want to say before I ask a question. I like Daryl. I love Ark of the Covenant. You guys put out some outstanding, just awesome music, some encouraging music. Uh, like Daryl said, I still listen to that stuff, man. I was listening to it today just because I knew we were going to be on the phone with you or whatever, and like it it still satisfies, man. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
It
still awesome
slaps.
stuff to listen
It
to. It's
slaps.
it's heavy. Like I love breakdowns. Breakdowns are my candy, and you guys have
I
so
hear
many of
that,
them.
man.
And I don't know, man. I really appreciate what you guys did, and I appreciate what you guys stood for. And it's been a privilege to be able to talk with you and just hash some of those things out.
Oh man, seriously, the privilege is really all mine because like I said at the beginning, I haven't talked about the band like in this form, well, especially in a podcast, never done that. But like just talking about it or interview form anyway, like it's been many years and it's kind of awesome to go down memory lane a little bit.
Heck yeah.
Awesome. Well, the last question I got, man. So part of the space that we're looking to take up doing this podcast is kind of being a bit of a resource for bands that are like extremely local, bands that haven't necessarily been signed. And, you know, we just kind of want to build the scene up a little bit, if and
Yeah.
when that becomes possible. Right. And so my question is, let's say that within the next, 6, 8 months, whatever, COVID-19 becomes not so much a thing anymore. And we're allowed to start going back to shows, and music can kind of start kicking again and that kind of a thing. Uh, One of the things that Daryl and I have talked about a little bit is that, and you've mentioned it, is that the landscape for music has changed so much.
Mm.
I think that the idea of DIYing yourself as a band is going to be very, very important moving forward. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on like what you think, um, what you think it might take for local bands, bands that are just starting up, to really get a foothold in the scene and kind of push themselves and go where they want to go.
All right. Well, first off, I just need to preface this. This answer is probably from somebody who hasn't been in a local band or a band in general for over a decade. So this might be a little dated, but I think the main principles and steps of this will, ring true with anything. As far as the landscape as it is now, um, you really need. I feel like bands now who are just starting off, first off, practice your songs.
Yes.
There is nothing worse than you going to a show, let alone your first show. That's your first impression, and first impressions are everything. If you got if you are trying to take this seriously, practice your songs, make sure you got them on lock. I don't care how long you have to practice them. You make sure you know those songs, especially if you're going to go into a studio and record music. There's nothing worse than going in and wasting a producer's time because they're just going to send you out and tell you to do the same thing.
Heck yeah.
Uh in that aspect, and I just think that's the most important thing as far as like performance wise. And not only that, I would also add, definitely have I don't know, do something that you absolutely believe in and like believe in the songs that you're putting out. It's more than just writing and emulating. That's all great when you're coming up with like playing in high school and everything. But if you're really trying to take this seriously, you got to really know like what you're going for. And obviously there's always room for experimentation and stuff like that, but have a general idea of like what you want to put out there and make it genuine, because if it's not, people will tell and you will fall off real quick. I've seen it happen multiple times with bands. They would be super popular like locally, and then they would get out and it would kind of go to their heads a little bit just because they left their home state. Then they get sloppy, and then that goes on as their career goes on. So always be practicing, always know your craft, always be working on your craft. That's the most important thing I can tell you, because if you have something great to offer, people will notice. And I guess, with the times the way they are now, know how you need to do some research on just basic business practices when it comes to music. One of my favorite things that I hear about, obviously I don't use it because I'm not putting out my own music, but you know learn how to distribute your own music. Learn how everybody nowadays, the DIY aspect of all of this is even greater now than I think that it was back in the day. Because for a while it was like you had MySpace, which was just like a great resource, and you were able to connect with so many people. But now it's just so oversaturated with music, and you got to know who you're promoting yourself to, and you just really need to just like put work into that as well, so you got to wear multiple hats. And that's where delegating band members to do certain things can really help you out, because if you have each person doing like their own thing, I think it could really contribute to the your end goal. Everybody having a responsibility, having their own part, because not only that, everybody's involved, everybody has their hand in it, and it's everybody's you're working as a unit. And I think that's really important. A band's a family, it's a relationship, it's like a marriage. You guys got to communicate, and always just remember, like, sometimes they're going to suck, sometimes they're going to be great. You just have to keep pushing forward, and you'll get there if you really want it.
Heck yeah, man.
That's solid, bro.
That's gold right there. That's podcast gold.
Mhm.
Awesome. Awesome. I think that's a great way to end this show. Daniel, man, again, I appreciate it. Thank you for coming on here and talking with us. Trey, thank you, man, for clearing your schedule and taking the time. I know you've been back there wrangling the baby and all that good stuff, and so that doesn't go unnoticed, man. It's awesome. So if you're listening to the show, this is the Sounds Heavy podcast. Thank you so much for your time. Please share, subscribe, leave us some feedback. Go check out the bands. All these different guys that are coming on here, spending years and years and years perfecting their craft, spending hours and hours and hours recording their songs, and all the time on the road and everything it takes to put this thing out there. It's just a little comment here and there, a little feedback here and there, a little thank you here and there just is such a big deal to musicians. I mean, it is just it's the craziest thing ever, how much time and money we put into things for someone to say, I like that. That was cool.
Yes, us
So
us creatives are a little we're a little sensitive to our art, so a thank you really does go a long way.
it's wild because I don't want to get us on another tangent, but my wife always asks me, why do you do this? Why do you need people to tell you they like you, that they like your thing? I'm like, well, no, when you say it like that, no. But it is the end goal. The thing that I'm passionate about, the thing that I love is creating music. But the final stage of that is the presentation. Like I have to go in there and I have to get the ingredients. I got to make the recipe. I got to perfect it. I got to do all the things. And then at the end, I have to serve it in hopes that, people vibe with it. People are down with it. So, as a musician, having all these musicians on here, all the guys we're going to talk to, check them out. Check out Ark of the Covenant, and go check them out on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, YouTube, all the places. We've been rocking them at the shop. Going to keep rocking them at the shop. And Daniel, we will have you back on the Sounds Heavy podcast.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. Y'all have a good night.
Stay metal and listen to something that sounds heavy.